The recruitment officer's 3 eye stalks drooped in what could only be described as severe professional regret. His name was Vorkthian, and he had made, in his own words, a catastrophic error in judgment. "I approve them," he muttered, his mandibles clicking nervously. "I actually approve them for advanced combat training." His supervisor, a crystallized being named Quilnax, leaned forward across the obsidian desk. "You approve the humans? The species from that backwater arm of the galaxy? The ones who still use chemical propulsion?" In my defense, Vorkthian's voice rose an octave. Their application forms were very impressive. They had references. Well, sort of. One was from something called a gym teacher, and another from someone who signed their name as just, quote, Big Mike, end quote. Quilnax's form shimmered with what the humans would recognize as a headache. "Show me the surveillance feed from Training Chamber 7. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing the gravity chamber. It was a massive dome, designed to simulate the crushing pull of high-density worlds. The readout on the wall indicated current conditions, 8.3 times standard galactic gravity. Cadets typically started at 1.5, worked their way up over months, sometimes years. Inside the chamber were 5 humans, and they were doing push-ups. "What in the 14 hells?" Quilnax whispered. The lead instructor, a battle-scarred veteran named Thorgrim, stood outside the chamber's reinforced viewing window. He held a communication device in one of his 6 appendages, and his face, a leathery expanse of old war wounds and confusion, was pressed against the glass. "Cadet Marcus," Thorgrim's voice boomed through the intercom. "Why are you doing push-ups?" The human in question, a broad-shouldered specimen with close-cropped hair, didn't even pause in his repetitions. "Getting warmed up, sir." "Warmed up." Thorgrim's voice climbed higher. "You're in 8 gravities." 8. The Kralthak species, they have exoskeletons made of reinforced bone. They can barely stand at 6. Another human, this one female with her hair pulled back in what humans called a ponytail, popped up from her push-up position. Her name tag read Jackson. "Sir, respectfully, this feels like a Tuesday morning." Thorgrim turned to his assistant instructor, a floating orb of sentient gas named Plifner. "Plifner, check the gravity generator. It must be malfunctioning." Plifner drifted over to the control panel, his gaseous form swirling with agitation. "Sir, I'm reading correct levels. 8.3 gravities. The humans are definitely experiencing full force." "That's impossible." Thorgrim slammed one of his fists against the wall. "Do you see them? That one is doing, what are those called, jumping jacks? At 8 gravities." The third human, a lanky individual named Torres, was indeed performing jumping jacks. Sort of. Each jump lifted him approximately 3 centimeters off the ground, but his form was impeccable, and he was grinning like this was the most fun he'd had in cycles. "Maybe they don't understand the danger," Plifner suggested weakly. "Maybe humans lack the cognitive capacity to recognize life-threatening situations?" As if on cue, a 4th human, this one with a thick beard and arms like tree trunks, raised his hand. His name was Kozlov. "Instructor Thorgrim, sir. Permission to increase gravity to 10? We've got a bet going about who can do the most squats." Thorgrim's 4 hearts collectively skipped several beats. "Permission absolutely denied. You're going to rupture your internal organs. Your bones should be powder. Your circulatory systems should have collapsed." The 5th human, a smaller female named Park, was now doing what appeared to be sit-ups. "Sit-ups. At 8 gravities," she called out cheerfully. "Our bones are actually pretty dense, sir. Calcium and all that. Plus, most of us did track and field back home." "Track and field." Thorgrim looked at Plifner. "What is track and field?" "Checking the database, sir." Plifner's form flickered as he accessed the Galactic Information Network. Oh no. Oh, this is worse than I thought." "What? What is it?" "Sir, apparently, track and field is something humans do for fun. They run. They jump. They throw heavy objects. For recreation." Thorgrim felt his primary consciousness beginning to fracture. For recreation? They torture themselves with physical exertion when they don't have to. Back in the chamber, Marcus had moved on from push-ups to something he called burpees, which involved dropping to the ground, doing a push-up, then explosively jumping up. At 8 gravities. While laughing. "This is great," Marcus shouted. "Hey, Torres, remember basic training? This is easier than the mud run." Torres, still jumping, nodded enthusiastically. Thorgrim activated the emergency protocol channel, which connected him directly to the Academy's high command. A face appeared on his screen, Admiral Zelkin, whose species aged backwards and currently resembled what humans would call a very angry teenager. "This better be critical, Instructor," Zelkin snapped. "I'm in the middle of a strategic planning session. Admiral, we have a situation in Training Chamber 7. The humans, they're exercising. In 8 gravities." There was a long pause. "I'm sorry, did you just say exercising? As in, voluntary physical activity? Under crush-level gravity conditions?" "Yes, Admiral. And they're asking to increase it to 10. Zelkin's face went through several colors that didn't exist in normal space-time. "I'm coming down there. Don't let them touch anything." Too late. Jackson had found the control panel inside the chamber. "Hey guys, look. We can adjust it ourselves. Want to try 9? "No." Thorgrim slammed every appendage against the intercom button. "Cadet Jackson, step away from that panel right now. That is a direct order." Jackson shrugged and complied, but not before Kozlov shouted, "Boring. Come on. Sir, where's your sense of adventure?" "My sense of adventure died in the Kelfax campaign," Thorgrim roared, "where I saw warriors 3 times your size crushed flat by 4 gravities. 4. You're casually exercising in 8. Park stopped her sit-ups long enough to wipe sweat from her forehead. Actual sweat. Her body was functioning well enough under these conditions to produce sweat. "Sir, if you don't mind me asking, what kind of gravity did these warriors evolve in?" Pliffner checked his database again. Standard galactic gravity is 0.8 of Earth's gravity. The Kelfax homeworld is, oh dear, 0.7. So they were in about 5 times their home gravity, Park calculated quickly. "We're in about 8 times ours, which means proportionally we're experiencing more, but our baseline is higher. So, yeah, this makes sense actually." "Nothing about this makes sense." Thorgrim was now pacing back and forth, all 6 legs moving in an agitated pattern. "You should be dead. All of you." Multiple times over. Marcus finally stopped his burpees and approached the window. His face was flushed, and he was breathing hard, but he was conscious, mobile, and worst of all, smiling. "Sir, I think there might be some confusion here. What gravity does your species handle normally?" "I'm from Thexer Prime. We have 0.9 standard gravity. I trained for 6 months to handle 3 gravities for special operations." Okay. Marcus nodded, like he was talking to a child. "So, Earth's gravity is what you'd call 1.25 standard, right? We grow up in that. Walk around in it every day. Our hearts pump against it. Our muscles fight it constantly. It's just, you know how we live." Torres chimed in, still bouncing slightly. "Plus, some of us are from higher altitude regions. Less oxygen. Makes your cardiovascular system work harder. I'm from Colorado, where we literally train at altitude because it makes us stronger. You train in worse conditions to become better?" Thorgrim's voice was barely a whisper now. "On purpose?" "Well, yeah," Jackson said, like this was the most obvious thing in the universe. "How else would we improve?" Admiral Zelkin burst through the training facility door at that moment, followed by a full entourage of officers and scientists. His backwards aging face was now the color of a supernova. "Where are they? Where are these insane primates?" Thorgrim pointed mutely at the chamber. The Admiral rushed to the window and froze. Inside, Kozlov had apparently gotten bored with waiting and had started doing what he called lunges. 1 leg forward, drop down, push back up. Repeat. At 8.3 gravities. While discussing with Torres the merits of something called protein powder. "By the ancients," Zelkin breathed. The reports were true. They're actually doing it. A scientist from his entourage, a hovering brain case named Dr. Rillenthorpe, floated forward with scanning equipment. "Admiral, I'm reading their vital signs through the chamber walls. Elevated heart rates, yes, but within acceptable ranges for their species. Muscle tissue is, good grief, their muscle tissue is actively repairing itself in real time. Their bone density is off the charts. And their mitochondria, the energy production centers of their cells, they're working at efficiency levels I've never seen in any species." "What are they?" Zelkin asked, and for the first time since the war, he sounded genuinely frightened. Park, who apparently had excellent hearing, looked up and waved. "We're humans, sir. From Earth. We were really excited to get accepted into the academy. This is a great workout facility, by the way. The equipment is top-notch. Workout facility. Zelkin turned slowly to Thorgrim. This is a torture chamber. We use this to punish war criminals, to extract confessions, to break the will of enemy combatants. Marcus cupped his hands around his mouth. Could you maybe add some music? We usually like to exercise with music, something with a good beat. Thorgrim collapsed against the wall. Admiral Zelkin made a decision that would later be recorded in the Academy's history files under the category of desperate measures taken by commanding officers who had completely lost control of a situation. He opened the chamber door himself. The humans jogged out. Jogged. Not crawled. Not dragged themselves. They jogged, chatting about something called meal prep and whether the Academy cafeteria had enough chicken. All right, Zelkin said, his voice taking on the tone of someone who had accepted that reality no longer made sense. Explain to me, in simple terms, how you're still alive. Marcus, who seemed to be the unofficial leader, scratched his head. Well, sir, it's biology, right? Earth has higher gravity than most places, apparently. Plus, we evolved as persistence hunters. We literally used to chase animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. Our bodies are built to handle stress over long periods. High gravity is just another form of stress. Dr. Illenthorpe's brain case pulsed with excitement. Fascinating. Your species developed in a high-pressure environment, both literally and evolutionarily. Tell me, what other conditions did you face on your homeworld? Torres laughed. Oh man, where do we start? Temperature swings from -40 to +50 Celsius, depending on location. Atmospheric pressure changes. Weather patterns that can kill you in minutes. Predators everywhere. Even though we're supposedly apex, diseases, parasites, bacteria that mutate constantly. And you survived all this. Dr. Illenthorpe was frantically taking notes. Well, yeah, Park said. The ones who didn't survive didn't pass on their genes. Natural selection. The survivors got tougher, adapted, built civilizations in the harshest environments. Antarctica, deserts, high mountains, thick jungles. If a place existed, we moved there and figured out how to live in it. Kozlov added helpfully. My ancestors are from Siberia. Winter temperatures hit -50 regularly. You either get tough or you die. Usually both eventually, but you know, that's life. Pliffner, who had been quietly running calculations, suddenly made a sound like escaping gas, which, given his physiology, was probably accurate. Admiral, I've been running the numbers. If we scale human capabilities appropriately, accounting for their higher baseline gravity and environmental pressures, they should theoretically be able to operate effectively in conditions that would kill 97% of known sapient species. 97%. Zelkin repeated weakly. And that's a conservative estimate, sir. Jackson raised her hand like she was still in elementary school. Question, sir? If this facility is supposed to be for advanced combat training, when do we actually start? We've been here 3 days. And so far it's been mostly orientation lectures and light exercise. We're kind of eager to get to the challenging stuff. Challenging. Thorgrim had recovered enough to speak, though his voice cracked. Light exercise? You just spent 45 minutes in a gravity chamber that we used to execute prisoners. Oh, Marcus said, looking genuinely apologetic. We didn't know that. Sorry. We thought it was just the warm-up room. You know, get the blood flowing before the real training starts. The Admiral pulled up his datapad and scrolled through the human application files. It says here you all scored in the 98th percentile on physical aptitude tests. I assumed that was a clerical error. Those tests are calibrated for standard galactic biology. We studied really hard for those tests. Park said brightly. Wanted to make a good impression. Though honestly, they seemed kind of easy. The strength test only required lifting 50 standard units. Back home, I deadlift 220 pounds regularly, which translates to about 70 standard units. You can lift more than the test maximum. Dr. Illenthorpe's brain case was now strobing with colors. As a regular activity? Well, I'm working up to 300, Park admitted. My personal trainer says I should hit it by next month. Kozlov grinned. I'm at 400, but I've been lifting since I was 14. There was a moment of profound silence in the training facility. Somewhere in the distance, a ventilation system hummed. Someone's communication device beeped. Torres' stomach growled audibly. Admiral Zelkin closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he had the look of someone who had just realized they were holding a plasma grenade with the pin already pulled. You're telling me that your species routinely trains by lifting objects that exceed our testing maximums, in gravity higher than our standard, while fighting off diseases and environmental conditions that would sterilize most worlds, and you do this for fun? Pretty much, Marcus agreed. Though we also do it for health. Sitting around too much is bad for you. Humans need physical activity, or we get depressed, and our bodies fall apart. It's kind of a design flaw, honestly. We have to keep moving, or we break down. You break down if you don't exercise. Pliffner sounded horrified. That's the opposite of every other species. We break down if we exercise too much. Jackson shrugged. Different evolutionary paths, I guess. So anyway, Admiral, about that actual combat training? When do we start sparring? Learning weapons? Tactical operations? We're really excited to work with other species and learn new fighting techniques. Admiral Zelkin looked at Instructor Thorgrim. Thorgrim looked at Dr. Illenthorpe. Dr. Illenthorpe's brain case dimmed in what could only be described as existential dread. Finally, Zelkin spoke, his voice carrying the weight of someone making a decision that would change everything. Instructor Thorgrim, I'm reassigning you. Effective immediately, you're now in charge of the new human integration program. Your job is to figure out how to train these beings without accidentally creating an unstoppable force that could conquer the galaxy. Sir, what? You heard me. Also, requisition stronger equipment. Much stronger. And somebody get me a line to the council. We need to discuss revising our entire understanding of what's physically possible. Marcus brightened. Does this mean we can try 10 gravities tomorrow? No. Every non-human in the room shouted simultaneously. Okay. Marcus laughed, holding up his hands. Just asking. So, anybody know where the cafeteria is? I'm starving. 8 gravities really works up an appetite. As the humans filed out, discussing whether the academy served something comparable to pizza, Admiral Zelkin turned to his staff. Document everything. Every test. Every training session. Every meal they consume. I want to know everything about these humans. Because in 6 months, they're going to graduate. And when they do, I want to make absolutely certain they're on our side. Thorgrim watched the humans disappear down the corridor, their laughter echoing off the walls. Admiral, permission to speak freely? Granted. We didn't recruit them. They recruited themselves into a military force that has no idea how to handle them. We've accidentally created something terrifying. I know, Zelkin said quietly. I know. Somewhere in the distance, they heard Kozlov shout something about finding the gym, followed by Torres yelling that it was leg day, followed by all 5 humans cheering. The galaxy, Zelkin reflected, was about to get very interesting. Or very dangerous. Possibly both. Probably both. Definitely both. So what did you think? Did this story surprise you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this sci-fi story, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more mind-blowing science fiction stories every week. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.